also very importantly by training the next generation of highly qualified personnel to drive and grow these companies into strong anchors. Academic research is really at the core of all our efforts at adMare, and we are proactively looking to work with academic researchers on that key translation point between scientific innovation and commercial development. For each of our stakeholders in the Canadian life science sector, we offer a distinct and compelling value proposition. For academic researchers, we identify the potential commercial value of promising research and advance and translate these pioneering work into validated investments and new companies. For life science companies, we provide all the essential catalytic resource needed to successfully advance the technology pipeline and scale up as a company. For investors, we offer new validated and de-risked opportunity for investment. For current and future industry leaders, we develop talents through our adapted training programs, and I will come back to that in a moment. And finally, for our federal and provincial government, we generate a great economic value. Over the years, adMare's predecessors, and these are the three Center of Excellence in Commercialization of Research, CDRD, Accelerex, and NeoMed. So these predecessors have contributed to the creation and growth of a significant number of well-known life science companies across Canada that are now part of our portfolio. Zucara in Toronto is a great example of us bringing together various partners, University of Toronto, York, TIAP, etc., doing the needed development work, creating a company, and then attracting investment to enable it to now scale up. Kairos in Vancouver is different in that we have first identified a commercial opportunity, the antibody drug conjugate platform. We recruited John Babcock and the team to exploit the opportunity and successfully developed a technology that when merged into Zymeworks, greatly helped one of Canada's most promising biologic company increase their pipeline, attract new capital investment, and begin to emerge as a new Canadian anchor. So the results of this work speak for themselves. On aggregate, these companies that we have created and supported have raised more than $1 billion investment and created more than 800 jobs. This speaks to our ability to stimulate co-investment by private investors early on and help enable those early stage life science companies to successfully create sustainable value creation in Canada. So to help our sector, we are structured as a single-stop destination to translate research into companies of scale. This is done across 4 dimensions, equally important for us: expertise, infrastructure, partnerships, and capital. Our leadership team is composed of people who have developed projects from the laboratory bench to the patient bedside and to understand the important commercial pathway. They have a deep complementary experience in drug development, company creation, and scale-up, commercialization, and investment. They work closely with scientists and other personnel in both Montreal and Vancouver facilities to support our partner, whether academic researchers and entrepreneurs. So we work with a team of over 50 scientists with industry experience and drug development expertise. This team provides in-house R&D support, manages outsourcing activities via network of partners and CROs, and provides project and data management support. I will not go through this list, but just to mention that our in-house R&D teams provide broad capabilities in both small molecule and biologic development, such as target selection and validation, molecular biology and assay development, in silico medicinal and analytical chemistry, antibody generation and characterization, formulation, pharmacology, toxicology, and naming. In addition, other functional teams within adMare bring commercial know-how and around IP management, company creation and financing, and access to regulatory expertise. So in addition to the expertise, we provide to the benefit of our programs and the Canadian life science community, 2 state-of-the-art R&D facilities, one in Vancouver and one in Montreal, with both small molecule and biologics capacity that can house emerging companies as they develop. The Innovation Center in Montreal is located at the Technopark campus. It is a 100,000 square foot facility that works as an open access drug discovery hub, hosting over 20 different CROs and biotech companies and offering specialized analytical support and animal facility. We are currently expanding the Montreal facility with the construction of a 50,000 square foot R&D center that is almost completed. One of the major features of this innovation center, Innovation and Commercialization Complex, is the accelerator program. It is a 2-year program that we have launched in July in partnership with the City of Montreal and the Government of Quebec, through which about 6 to 8 pre-seed or seed stage companies in therapeutics, medtech, or digital health will receive about 150K of in-kind contribution from adMare, with the privileged access to our offices and lab space, complementary scientific and business support, mentoring, and training. The facility in Vancouver is a 40,000 square foot laboratory and office facility directly located on the campus of University of British Columbia. In terms of training, this is also an important part of our mission to train the next generation of highly qualified personnel to drive the growth of Canadian companies. I would just like to highlight that we have different programs in place. You've probably heard about the Executive Institute that has launched its 3rd cohort. It is a very strong and compelling leadership program for C-level executives, like a mini MBA. But we have also other programs such as the BioInnovations Scientist Program, and I think Christine will give you an update on this program in the coming days. This program is focusing on helping transition strong bench scientists into industry experts, and it is a program that we are right now launching and that will include different phases. So partnerships are also fundamental to our business of translation, research and commercialization. So in addition to all our in-house resources in terms of expertise and infrastructure, we have access to a very extensive network of collaborators and partners across Canada, but also around the globe. And this represents a huge advantage when we need to find the right expertise to further develop a specific program. In terms of financing, we all know that capital is often what is critically missing at the early stage, and frankly, it is often the main reason why research groups and startups approach us in the first place. We benefit from strong federal and provincial government support, but also from the revenues generated from our investment portfolio. This allows us both invest in promising technologies that require additional validation, as well as support companies to pre-seed and seed capital investment. So I'll now let Lana take you through our areas of focus, our current portfolio, and some specific in-house program that we have recently launched. Lana, over to you.
Great, thank you, Munya. Will you advance the slides at your end if I
Yes.
ask you to? Okay, great, thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. My name is Lana, and I'm a venture partner here at adMare. And what that means is effectively that I work with, with researchers like yourself to help find really the science that's really ready for translation and think about how we can help it translate and help advance it through to company creation and figuring out what the best pathway is for that. As Munya said, academic research is really the lifeblood of an organization like adMare. We were founded 14 years ago with the mission of helping to translate academic research off of the academics bench and towards commercialization, and we remain committed to that. And we're in, as Munya said, an even stronger position now with the merger with NeoMed and Accelerex over the past year and a half. And just a little bit about myself. I have over 2 decades in drug discovery and drug development. And I'm really pleased to be part of the team here. I've been with adMare just over 2 years now. I'm also an active mentor at Creative Destruction Labs in the health stream, and have worked with numerous companies out of the CDL program in Toronto. So really happy to be talking with you today. And next slide, please, Minya. Great. And so I think, as I mentioned, that we really do have these 3 main goals, and one of them is to build up, to identify those opportunities and build partnerships. And you know, we really do have 3 areas that we like to call our main focuses, because, you know, the space is huge that academic research can encompass. Oncology is a key focus of ours, neuroscience, and then what we call opportunology. And I think this is reflective of the diverse background that adMare has as an organization, but also myself and Lauren Munya and Yusuf Banani, who's our VP, or sorry, our CSO. We all come from lots of different backgrounds in the drug development space, whether it's urology, ophthalmology. And so we're always looking to be able to apply our expertise and knowledge as an organization and as individuals to help translate great science. The typical stage of development we work with is preclinical stage. So that's why I say drug discovery. Although the team does have vast experience in drug development and clinical stage programs. And we think that only strengthens our partnerships, in that we know and understand the path that these programs have to take all the way through the clinic to commercialization and beyond. So it's helpful to know where ultimately the program needs to go when we think about working with you as PIs to try and define the best path forward and the strongest data package to attract funding, to build your company, and to move your programs through to the clinic. We have a project selection criteria, which is very much, I think you'll agree, makes a successful program, which is we're looking for engaged PIs. We're not looking to take over your science. We're looking to work with you. You are going to be the scientific leaders and experts, and you're going to be driving the company forward on the science side. What we try and bring is a bolt-on organization that can help bring all of those other parts of development that are really hard for young fledgling companies and technologies to be able to assemble together. And that includes IP and financing and building out development pathways and building that investment story. So next slide, please, Munya. The second thing we do is we validate and advance the technologies. And this is where we roll up our sleeves with you and we work to build out that development plan and budget. And then we try and help bring the right partners. We have a full legal team, IP team, finance team, fundraising teams that can really help bring to bear all of those parts and key activities into your program so that you can focus on the science. And we, along with your organization, like Prime and TTOs, can really focus on putting the structures in place so that the science can advance in the right way forward. It's important that you understand that you retain ownership of your existing IP. We look for ways to really help you and your organization advance your technologies into company creation. Next slide. And then importantly, we create companies. And why do we create companies? Well, we know that I always like to say that unfortunately, money is the oxygen that helps your technologies advance forward. And we know that in addition to the non-dilutive funding, which is another way of saying grants and the like, that you're able to attract as excellent PIs and clinical and research organizations, we know that there needs to be investment capital brought in to help your program grow forward. And so really the best way to do that is to create a company around your program when it's the right time to do that, so that you can and we can together help raise the capital that you need to advance, to bring even forward additional data sets, validate your technology, and build that investment story to attract the attention you need. And that's something that adMare can really help bring to your program. Next slide. So here's just an example of the many different types of programs we have. We like to divide them into 3 sets, which is what we call SeedCo, which is where we're working with PIs who have an idea, but perhaps it hasn't been fully validated yet with the data sets that would be needed to really launch a startup company. And we call those SeedCos. And you can see there's a broad range of technologies that we're working with PIs across Canada. That includes oncology in terms of biologics, functional antibodies, ADCs as antibodies, bispecifics, CAR-Ts and the like. We work in the gene therapy space. We're working in the oncolytic virus space, adaptive cell therapy space, iPSC space. So there's a lot going on and a lot of different technologies that we have the expertise and bandwidth to be able to help with. The next stage is GrowCo, and that's where there's enough validation in place where we think that we can, with you and your technology transfer offices and organizations, launch a new co. And one example is targeted alpha therapies that we're working on, and that's a really promising space that leverages the biologics, antibody, and peptide space. We have GrowCos in the gene therapy space, and Laura will speak to you around some of the neuronal rescue therapies. And also we're very active in using artificial intelligence in drug repurposing and drug discovery at the moment. And then the final stage is the StartCo, which stands alone and which there's a company structure put in place. Typically, this is where external funding can be attracted. And we launched the company. Two good examples of that, of recent companies we've launched, are Neurasic Therapeutics and Fine Therapeutics. Next slide, please, Munya. So here's a working example of some of the initiatives we take. And one of them was recently we announced a CARRY initiative, which is working with Center for Probe Development and Commercialization, which of course is located on the McMaster campus and is a leading light in Canada for radiotherapeutics. We recently announced a program, and I'm hoping that some of you might have been there, and if not, please tell your colleagues about it, where we're looking to find early stage research out of Canadian academic centers that is focused on targeted radiotherapeutics development and targeted radiodiagnostics. And this is a program that we will, along with CPDC, are willing to put in up to $200,000 to help you reach your next important milestones. We bring to bear all of those strengths that I outlined in previous slides and that Munya did in terms of helping you establish compelling targeted radiotherapeutics programs that can launch into companies of scale, that it can advance closer towards the clinic. And there's a variety of different offerings that we can help bring to your program, and that includes radiochemistry research, regulatory, CMC, commercialization, and IP strategies. And this is just one example of an exciting program. So if you or your colleagues know anyone who are in this space, please draw their attention to this and let them know that there's a team ready and willing to roll up their sleeves and work with them, provide funding, and help advance their programs. Next slide. please. This is another example of an initiative that we've been working on over the past year. And if many of you who are in the oncology space will know that pediatric oncology is a particularly challenging space. There have been initiatives to help accelerate development in that space, including the 2017 RACE Act in the United States, which now compels organizations that are doing research in the oncology space to include trials in pediatric subsets where there is the same molecular marker. And this is exciting because until recently, companies were able to get a waiver to avoid testing in pediatric populations if the development was in a rare indication. So we're working right now with a leading clinical organization. Unfortunately, I can't tell you who that is. Next slide, please. To really help roll up our sleeves with them. We haven't announced this program yet, so that's why I can't tell you who the organization is, but we're working with them to really help them develop novel therapies for rare cancers. And this is an example of a type of a life science accelerator that we can put in place. And this is a partnership where we work together with them to try and identify and build a robust pipeline focused on the development of new therapies for the treatment of rare and pediatric cancers that have a strong scientific rationale to children. And this is really because we believe that not only is it important for us to be helping accelerate development in the rare oncology space, but also in the pediatric space. And the way we'll do that is we're working to develop a program that helps de-risk these early stage programs, drive value, and importantly, attract further investment in the space. So next slide, please, Munya. And here's an example. From the outset, we established guidelines on how we're going to find programs together. And I'm hoping that Prime can also think about this as an example with their PIs of how might we able to establish some programs like this with you. And here's an example of what we established. We said with this leading clinical organization, adMare can provide financial and in-kind business, scientific, and preclinical drug development support to those programs. We'll focus on those early technologies. We'll work with the clinicians to build out an investment thesis, a development plan. We'll establish a joint steering committee to help find quickly the best programs. And then we'll look to see what is it that it's important to the PIs. In this case, we're working with leading pediatric oncologists who want to find strong programs to be able to bring to their patients and that can take advantage of this 2017 FDA RACE initiatives, because we know in turn that that will attract the investment capital to drive these programs into the clinic. So this is just one type of framework that we can put in place to work with PIs so that it meets their needs, it meets what drives their passions, and that we can bring to bear our skill sets and team to help them advance their programs. So next slide. I think this is where I turn this over to my colleague, Laura McIntosh, who's another terrific venture partner who joined our group earlier this year. So over to you, Laura.
Hi, thanks, Lana, and thanks, Munya, for the very excellent introduction and the great job at highlighting our capabilities. I'm just checking, am I all good? Can you see me?
Yes, we can, Laura.
Okay, excellent. Okay, great. So as Munya, or as Lana said, I'm sorry, I'm a new venture partner on the adMare team. I'm located in Montreal. And I have the pleasure of talking to you today about two recent case studies showing how all of the elements came together to form two startup companies in Canada that we hope will become companies of scale. Just a bit of background on myself. I have a device and biologics background. I've been in Canada for all of my career and have worked at multiple startup companies in the biologic space, proteomics, and microbiome space. So let's move to the next slide, please. So first, I'd like to highlight one of our new companies that was formed out of an academic collaboration with Dr. Philippe Seguela at the Neuro in Montreal. Quickly, Dr. Seguela was working on ASIC channels, and ASICs are a gene family of neuronal receptors that play an important role in multiple neurological diseases. He showed that blocking these channels elicits analgesia in chronic pain conditions. So Dr. Seguela came to us in around 2017 with a platform and a great set of ideas. And we decided to partner together to identify molecules in a screening campaign that was run out of the Vancouver office, which was CDRD at the time. And a lead series was identified. This occurred between the period of 2017 to 2019. And this was all done under a very close collaboration. So of course, if we can go to the next slide, please. Everyone was very excited about the results and decided that a new company would be a very great idea. So in June 2020, we officially formed this company called Neurasic, and it's formed around the ASIC platform. The primary goal is to advance the research and develop new opiate-sparing pain-relieving drugs. We believe that in an 18-month timeframe, we'll be able to identify our first clinical stage molecule, but we'll also advance other molecules in the pipeline. This was a partnership between McGill, as I stated before, adMare, and Amerchem. For those of you that don't know, Amerchem is a venture capital firm in Montreal. So Amerchem and adMare both put in seed funding. As well, adMare is contributing scientific in-kind expertise, as well as business and management expertise. As you can see, the founding management team is comprised of both adMare and Amerchem people. And at this point, we didn't put in a big management infrastructure. The company is really a virtual company that we work through Dr. Seguela's lab, CROs, and the adMare labs to ensure that all of the majority of the capital goes to the research and to value creation. So that's the first example of how we recently partnered with an academic research institute. Maybe we can go to the next slide, please, Munya. But we can form partnerships in a variety of ways. And also in 2020, we launched a new company called Find Therapeutics. This case study highlights a different form of a partnership and how we bridged different companies and also bridged across country. So Find is a Canadian-based company, but it is actually having global partners. So it's a partnership between CTI Life Sciences, which is also another venture capital firm. It's Domain Therapeutics is involved, which is a French company with presence in Montreal. adMare is involved, and Peptimimesis Pharma, which offers a platform for peptide discovery in the GPCR field. So the company is focusing on GPCR pharmacology to address inflammation and fibrotic disease of the fibrotic diseases of the airways and the liver and GI systems. We're currently working on the first program, and we've brought in an academic collaborator to enhance that program and plan on bringing in other academic collaborators to this big collaboration as we move programs along. Like Neurasic, adMare invested seed funding and also contribute expertise in the form of, again, business support, scientific support, and management. We are also performing studies in adMare's labs to move the program forward. So very quickly, in addition to what Munya had mentioned earlier about other companies that we've been involved in, I hope that you have a flavor of what is possible with regards to new co-creation and how we go about creating a flexible model to create these new companies. I really think that we have the ability to bring together multiple talents in strong collaborations to create new companies that address medical unmet needs. With that, maybe I'll turn it back to Munya to summarize our presentation thus far.
Thanks a lot, Laura, and thanks, Lana, also for this very compelling examples of on how we work with academic researchers and with SMEs to scale up and bring the necessary resources to build strong companies and advance their growth. So in summary, I just want to thank you all, and I hope that we have convinced you that we are first open for partnership, very flexible in terms of the way that we can build those partnerships, and we can put different partners around the table to have all the necessary resources, capital, etc., network to grow projects and turn them into commercial opportunities. We are a single stop destination. So as I say again, with all the resources, including scientific expertise, business expertise, infrastructure, and capital to translate so these early innovations into companies of scale. So just a last word to thank our funding partners, the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, le ministère de l'Économie et de l'Innovation du Québec et la Ville de Montréal. Thank you all for listening and for attending, and we are open for to answer any question. I'll just try to stop sharing my screen so that we can see everyone. Okay. Christine?
Yes, so I am going to, I believe we have a few questions in the Q&A, but I also think that we will allow any participants that would like to ask questions if they raise their hands. I can make sure that they're unmuted and able to ask questions themselves. So in terms of the questions that we have that were put out during the presentation, I think this is one that everybody in Toronto is likely eager to know. Are there any plans of opening an adMare R&D center at in Toronto? So I mean, it's lovely, your new innovation center in Montreal. I think we're all very jealous. And so, you know, space and you know, R&D facilities, more lab space. There's definitely a lack of that in Toronto. I think we also are always looking for, you know, funding and support in that sense. But I guess the question is, are there any plans, as you guys are looking to expand and really work with people in Toronto, are there any plans to open an R&D center here?
Yes, it's a really great question. And as you can imagine, it's something that we have in mind and that, you know, we clearly, this is something that we would love to. It's not in the immediate planning for us. We are right now, as you know, expanding the center in Montreal. We have people in Toronto, and we have, you know, the capability to work, whether it is from Vancouver, from Montreal, with any researcher and any SMEs across Canada. So for us, the localization is not for us important. We will be able to do the work, whether it is with local CROs, groups, etc. We are partnering. We have very strong network in Toronto, partnering with TIA, partnering with CCRM, partnering with a lot, all the value chain, value financing chain, all the centers for commercialization. So we are very close to them. And this is, you know, as I said, not in the immediate plans, but clearly, you know, something that we have all behind our mind. Maybe, Lana, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And I think the Kauri initiative is a good example of, we recognize that we do not have lab facilities in the greater Toronto area to be able to support researchers in that specific field. So we established a relationship with CPDC, which obviously has, you know, a full suite of lab facilities and the like available to researchers. And so that any programs that we do take into the Kauri program will have access to the CPDC labs and facilities as well to the extent they're needed. So we try and find creative ways, even though we specifically don't have a lab presence there. We would absolutely love to. I think that it's always top of mind for us at adMare to find how we can make that happen. But as Munya said, it's not immediately going to happen. But Toronto remains a really active focus of ours. We know that it is, the leading center of academic research right now in Canada, and then closely followed by Montreal and Vancouver and Alberta. So we know it's important. So we're finding creative ways to be able to help you, even though we do not have a physical lab presence there.
No, that's very reassuring. And I think, the CARI program is a good example of definitely creative ways to use places in Ontario to help build that. There is another question in the Q&A, and I think because we had a couple of people coming in a little later, so maybe this is just talking about the funding that adMare provides. The question is, does adMare provide non-dilutive funding, VC funding, or assist founders to secure funding from other sources? So again, you may have answered, but if we could briefly just touch on that. Thank you.
Of course, it's of course a great question, and we know how important this is for academic labs and academic researchers. So it is very important also for us. We are not. I just want to re-emphasize that we are not a granting agency. So we are not providing grants or to academic labs. What we are doing really is work for the benefit of a program, to build the development plan, to put all the money that is needed to bring the best value to the program, look at where we need to do the experiments, whether it is in the lab of the PI, whether it is at adMare or externally using CRO. So we look every time to the best place to do the experiments, and we work for the benefit of the program. So as I said, we are not a granting agency. Our money is dilutive, since we are taking part and we are a stakeholder, and we are really a partner in the creation of the company. That being said, we are seen by granting agencies such as CIHR, CQDM, and any other group as private partners. So we can, with our money, leverage some important non-dilutive funding, some grants, to go into the lab of the PI and to help us, bring the platforms and the programs to another stage. So this is very important, and this is something that is also of our interest. So when we build the program, we don't want to work alone. So we will work with the PI to see what is the best for the program and how we can best leverage our funding to do more with our money. So we will go to look together to non-dilutive funding. We will go to look together to other VC type funding if it makes sense, if it is at the right stage of the technology. So this is really the way that we're working. Anything to add, Laura, Lana, on that piece?
Maybe I'll just jump in a bit. Thank you. That was a great answer. Just wanted to clarify as well that, we're used to working with PIs. We've been doing it for 14 years now. And part of our work is to work with you to develop a strategy around that non-dilutive funding. So we support your grants. We help in the sense that we help you strategize around which grants you're applying for. As Munya said, how you can leverage the investment that we put in to attract that non-dilutive matching funding or the like. We can also help in the planning around your IRAP submission. So thinking about how do you leverage IRAP to the best available, best capabilities in terms of taking advantage of specific programs or initiatives in IRAP. So we're used to helping PIs around that as well. And I think an important point that Munya mentioned is that, we're very close with VCs in Canada and beyond. We have a managing director of investments within adMare who's very, very close with the VCs, and we help to drive those relationships. And when we're building out these development stories, we can look at the program from a lens of what will a VC want to see, perhaps to do that first investment of maybe $500,000 or $1 million. and help develop that program with you, so that we know that we're on a path together over the next 12, 18, 24 months to be able to track that first critical investment from VCs in Canada and beyond. So we start planning from the very beginning. So we can help with the non-dilutive funding in attracting it and strategizing around it. We can put our own funding in, both as seed capital, and we can help to strategize and develop a plan to attract outside investment capital. So we know that, as we say, you know, capital is the lifeblood of your program, and so we're always thinking about how to make sure that we have that oxygen coming in at all points into your program going forward.
Okay, thank you both. There is another very good question here. Question from Mohammed. Does adMare mainly focus on therapeutics rather than diagnostics? So this was actually another good question that somebody who couldn't attend sent to me. So is there a specific focus, whether it's therapeutics, whether it's diagnostics, is it disease specific? Is there a particular area that you are looking to focus on with some of your investments and work?
Laura, Lana, maybe Laura, I can.
Sure, I can jump in on this one because I'll get a plug in for one of the new areas that we're trying to look into. But first of all, yes, we do mainly focus on therapeutics, not diagnostics. We really feel that the therapeutic area is our lifeblood, although in the past, and we do have at least one therapeutics company in our portfolio that we have assisted and continue to assist, called Sepsit. Lana, that's correct. I think that's the only
it's a diagnostics company. Yeah, developing for early detection of sepsis in the emergency room earlier than existing diagnostic devices in that space.
But we really are trying to focus on therapeutics, and as Lana said, we've prioritized oncology and neurology as our top two, but we don't specifically close doors to any other types of interesting technologies that are differentiated, that have an unmet need, and that are have very promising preclinical or early stage validation data sets. So you'll see in the portfolio that Lana presented, there are some other types of technologies in there besides oncology and neurology. Specifically, we're currently evaluating the microbiome space, and that's one area that we're trying to understand better, and whether there's something that we could specifically do there. I have a background in microbiome, hence my interest, but also there seems to be huge opportunities in that arena. So that's an area we're looking at. I think those are the main take homes.
Thank you. All right, well, I can jump in with a few other questions and maybe another one on scope. So you, just in terms of describing the investments that are active, there were lots of kind of small molecule type therapeutics, biologics. You mentioned cell therapy, but I didn't see examples, but is that part of the mandate? Do you feel that is in your comfort zone?
Lena, maybe you can take this one.
Sure, so I can jump in there. Absolutely. I mean, we know that the future of therapies includes cell therapies, and we're actively working with companies in the cell and gene therapy space right now. And looking to bring in new companies as well that we can help. So absolutely, yes, we have, in a lot of our partnerships, we are not at full liberty to disclose publicly. And that includes active partnerships that I'm overseeing right now with St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto, UHN, as well as some partnerships with UBC and BC Cancer Agency. Including in the cell and gene therapy space. What's really interesting to us, I think, is obviously there are other organizations as well in Canada that can help in the development of those. What we think we can specifically do is there are a lot of technologies that are part of and enable next generation cell and gene therapy. So whether it's novel gene editing techniques or novel transfection methods or the like, and we can help with those programs. We're also very active in, I would say, sort of next generation oncolytic virus programs and the like. So the short answer is yes, absolutely.
Okay, great to hear. Maybe another question, I thought this was one that could be helpful to people. When is the right time to come to adMare, to find a contact, to have that first meeting? What do you want to have in hand for it to be the right time?
Yeah, so we are very, as we mentioned during the presentation, we are really very open and very flexible. So usually, of course, we are looking for projects that are at, let's say, a hit to lead stage. We are not looking really, at a project that is at the stage at the target validation. What we want to have is at least some ideas around the hit so that we can start building campaigns and we can start optimizing those hits and turn them into leads and assets. So this is the best stage. After that, in terms of documents, we are really very flexible. Usually people come with just some general information, non-confidential deck on programs. We evaluate that fairly quickly. We look at that. If there is an interest, we engage into a more in-depth discussion with the PI, with the TTO and the CDA, or no, really it's up to the PI. And what's important is that even if we decline a project, we never say no thanks, and it's not our intent. We always give you feedback about the why, when it will be, for us ready to look at it again, what is needed in that specific space, to make it attractive, etc. We always try to really engage in the discussion, and this is our way of working. We are partners with the academic PIs. We are not VCs just, trying to do an investment. We are trying to help you and guide you so that your program, if it is not attractive today, it will be in a month, in a year, or in 2 years down the road.
Yeah, okay, that's great information. I think sometimes people are reluctant to come forward, right? Because oh, well, what if it's too early? Well, then
yeah, sometimes it is, but sometimes it is not. And sometimes, we prefer seeing a project earlier when there is not, where the IP has not been maybe yet finalized, so that we can drive, and we can perform and we can build together the best IP around the program, and we can build together a company. So sometimes it's better to come to us early and we can help you, and guide you into that process.
Lena? Munya, if I could add to that as well, it's like, let's start the relationship. It may be, as Munya said, it's not a no, it's a yes or a not yet. Yeah. And try and add some value in the sense of, here's what we think you probably need in order to be able to attract some sort of investment or partnership. And that's part of our mandate, to add value across the academic landscape, and try and say, we know from our experience, what about if you did the following experiments in your labs at this point over the next several months? And we think that those data sets might really drive investment and partnership. And we're happy to do that and start the relationship, because we see it as it's not just a no and we're not going to talk again. It's not yet, and let's keep talking about this. And as Munya showed in her slide, we have a vast network of researchers. And what we like to do is add value and say, who might be an interesting person for you to talk to partner with, whether it's public or private. So part of our mandate is to create that ecosystem and create those connections between people. So we're happy to do that as well. I don't know, Laura, if you wanted to add anything on that point as well.
Well, I was just going to add another aspect is that I know Munya mentioned it at the beginning, but we do have scientists in the lab. So we're a little bit different than other venture capital types of firms where there's a lot of people and brain power. but not the actual labs. So we do have young scientists that are up on the latest methods and the latest techniques and the latest in their field. So they can also really help to define these earlier stage programs, or they have a lot of information and value add in that part.
Great. There are a few more questions that have popped up. And I know we don't have a lot of time left, so we're going to try and get through them a little quickly. Two I think are related. So one is asking about the typical investment size for adMare, and the second one that's related, it really says that, you know, early stage founders are you know, worried about the financial uncertainty in the first year or two. So, you know, I guess, what can you say about some of the projects that come in, and what type of typical investment size maybe would be looked at for the first year or two of a project that you guys commit to?
Yeah, so usually, you know, as we say, so when we work with the PI around the project, we will look at the budget, and of course we will tranche it. It will be a milestone-based, go-no-go based budget. And our typical investment, of course, it depends on the technology, but it can go from 100K if it is very, very small, a maturation project, something, a validation stage that we need, and it can go up to 2-3 million, depending on the cash and in-kind contribution that we will put into a program. So we have really, what we try to do is not think about, you know, we don't have that restriction of funding. What we try to do is really to see how we can best with our financing go up to the next inflection point. And as I said, it is milestone-based and tranched investment.
Okay, and then I think speaking to you know, the role of adMare really helping to link you know, and add value to projects. Question is, if there's currently interaction with, you know, the U of T Tech Transfer Office as well as TAP, you know, is it okay also then to approach adMare, and how do the relationships between the groups work? I guess, you know, being careful of not getting too many people involved and worrying about the relationships then and how that evolves.
Usually at adMare, we are not trying to do the things alone. We are really collaborating with all the ecosystem to do things together. So of course, TAP is one of our great partner, University of Toronto also. So we don't have any problem, you know, speaking with all these people around the same table, around the same project. For us, it's a collaborative way, and, you know, as I always say, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes also a village to raise a company and to raise a nice project. So for us, it is important that, you know, other expertise are around the table, whether it is expertise for co-development or expertise for co-financing. It's always important. So I think for a PI, you know, if your institution is okay with that, if your TTO is okay with that, come and speak to us. And, you know, if TAP is involved, we will speak also with TAP and we will bring them to the table day one.
That's perfect. I think that's reassuring because, you know, I think when people are looking for money and help, you want to get advice from a lot of people, but as long as, you know, everybody's collaborating in there, we're able to bring all these resources to projects.
Exactly. And sometimes my recommendation to PIs is not to try to do things sequentially. So go to TAP, have their advice, wait for their evaluation, wait 6 months, 3 months, I don't know, and then come back to another group. You know, sometimes you need to speak to all these people together and do your pitch and try to see, you know, where is the technology, and after that you will have the luxury of choosing your best partner. Is it or doing a collaborative or doing a syndicate between all these partners? So I encourage you really to come and speak to us early. We have really no problem to speak with other partners, as I said, at the same time.
Okay, and I'm going to try and squeeze in 2 more very quickly before we let everybody go. So in terms of then approaching adMare for a conversation, what information would be most useful to help you decide whether, you know, the project is ready or not? You know, would it be a pitch deck? Would it be a conversation? Would it be, you know, a meeting? Would it be a simple email? Like, maybe I think we're looking for the best way to have that initial meeting that's helpful for you.
Yeah. Usually the best, you know, is really to have a non-confidential slide deck, for example, or it can be an email, you know, just highlighting which stage it is, the technology, what is first, of course, what is the innovation there, what is the unmet medical need, what is the differentiation compared to other technologies or other platforms or other assets that are in development. So just a high level view of the technology, the target, the level of validation of the target. And for us, it's enough. And, you know, and don't be shy if you don't have all this information, just an email and we will take the phone and we will call you and we will, through a discussion, we will, you know, have those information. So really, it's like we are flexible. Sometimes people just send us an email saying that we are working in that area. We just want to see whether it is of interest to you. And we, you know, we have a team of in what we name the search and evaluation team. So we have a team of scientists, business people that are well aware of the kind of project that we are looking for, that are well aware about the product. They will call you and basically they will engage a discussion and we will very quickly know whether it fits or no and what kind of information. So don't be shy, just the way that you prefer, we will work with it.
Wonderful. And one last one, just because I know we do have a fair number of trainees. So this is a little bit more open-ended, I think, to advice. Question is, what can PhD students, and I'm thinking postdocs as well, do throughout the research and training experience to help facilitate some of the transition to, you know, founding a company and learning the process of startups?
Lana, do you want to take it?
Sure, absolutely. No, absolutely. You know, this is a great question. What I would say is there's a lot of resources available. We're here to talk to. We have a great bioinformation scientist program that we've been rolling out that really helps young researchers move from the academic bench into thinking about what does a therapeutics company look like. So please check out our website on that. The other thing I would say is that there's so many great programs out there in terms of trying to help young entrepreneurs develop. As I mentioned, I'm a mentor at Creative Destruction Labs. What I would say is reach out to us and talk to us, even if you're not sure that I have an idea and I want to set up a company, even if it's just I really love the area that my PhD has been in, or my postdoc, or my master's. And I really think it would be, I have the passion to drive a development in this. What do you think about it? And we're here to help in terms of talking about that. What does it mean to actually look like to try and start up a company? I know through U of T, and there's lots of other entrepreneurship offices that will be available to you to talk about things. But what I would say is it's not too early to come talk to us as well. We've all been young fledgling scientists. And, you know, we say young entrepreneurs and startups, and it doesn't always mean that you're 25 as a young entrepreneur. You could be a young entrepreneur in your 50s if you're a PI and beyond, because it means young in terms of first time starting something up. So that's part of our mandate, as we said, to train the next generation of highly qualified personnel. Next generation doesn't mean people who are just in school. It's the next generation of leaders, wherever you are in your career. If you're looking to start up your first company, there's a lot to learn. So a lot of great programs, and we're happy to connect you to those, including programs that we have as well.
And to that end, for any of the trainees that are still listening, yes, we will be talking about, adMare has opened up their BioInnovations Scientist program to our community, and we're going to be talking about that later this week and sending more information out, which I think it's a fabulous resource for any of our trainees, and we're very lucky to be able to extend that to our community. So I think that's it. And I think we are out of time. Thank you all, Laura, Munya, and Lana. Thank you very much for your time today. I think this was very helpful, I think, for our prime attendees to get a better idea of how adMare can support us and work together. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to reach out to you soon on behalf of some of our PIs and our trainees for potential projects to work together.
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot, Christine, Shanna, and all Prime members for listening to us. And I really hope that we will engage into discussions on programs very soon. So thanks a lot. Thanks, Lana. Thanks, Laura.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for giving us your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.